don't remember when it began. There was no clear moment I could point to. It felt like everything just continued as usual. The days looked familiar. The routines felt predictable. Nothing seemed out of place at all. Then there was a small moment. Something simple, almost easy to ignore. But it didn't feel the same this time. In that quiet pause, something became visible. It wasn't new, just unnoticed before. It had always been there, waiting. Since that day, something quietly shifted in me. I didn't react, I just noticed more. And now, I see my child differently than before. My name is Clara. I've been learning to notice things that don't always ask to be seen. Not everything speaks loudly, but some things stay. That day felt ordinary. I was in the kitchen, moving through small tasks while my mind wandered elsewhere. It was a rhythm I didn't question anymore. My child was in the living room, playing alone, quietly, like he often does. Nothing about it felt unusual. I glanced over for a moment, just enough to register that everything was fine. Then I returned to what I was doing. A few minutes passed. Then I heard a small sound. Something light, almost easy to ignore. I turned my head. He was picking something up from the floor, slowly, carefully, as if it mattered. There was nothing strange about it, but something in the way he moved felt unfamiliar. I couldn't explain why. And for the first time, I truly paid attention. Not just looking, but staying with what I saw. Something quiet, but hard to forget. He didn't call me. He used to call me right away, even for small things. Today, the house felt quieter than usual. He handled it on his own, slowly, carefully, without asking, as if he didn't want to interrupt me. In that moment, I felt something shift. It wasn't loud or sudden, just a quiet awareness settling in. It wasn't about what happened. It was about what didn't. He didn't look for me. I tried to remember. When was the last time he called me for something small? I couldn't find the answer right away. Maybe this isn't new. Maybe it has been happening many times, and I simply didn't see it. I was focused on bigger things, on changes that were easier to notice, and I missed the smaller ones. And somehow, those small things mattered the most. The ones I'd barely noticed before. Now they stay with me. I walk closer and sit beside her. I don't say anything yet. I just try to be there, quietly. She continues what she's doing, calm and focused, as if my presence doesn't change anything. It feels unfamiliar in a quiet way. Not because she's distant, but because she seems used to not needing me. I start asking myself questions I've avoided. Is this simply part of her growing up? Or something I slowly stepped away from? I've always been around physically, but not always present in the way that matters. Not fully with her. How many times did I say just a minute? How often did I listen without really hearing? I can't clearly remember anymore. Maybe, without saying it, she stopped expecting me to always be there, even for the smallest things. And that realization makes me pause. Not because something big happened, but because something small quietly changed. I used to think real change would be obvious, something I could point to without hesitation, something that would interrupt the day. But it rarely works that way. The most important shifts arrive quietly, almost like they are trying not to be noticed. There is no noise when it happens. No signal that asks for attention, just small habits, shifting out of place. And children don't always say what they feel. They adjust instead, in ways that are easy to miss. They learn from what we give, from how we respond, from how present we choose to be. Maybe my child didn't stop needing me. Maybe they simply stopped showing it the same way, not because they wanted to pull away, but because they were learning not to expect too much. And that is something I don't want to overlook again. Not in ways that seem small today, but matter later. I don't rush to say anything. I sit beside her a little closer than before. It feels like a small shift, but I notice it. I watch what she's doing, not casually, but with full attention. For a moment, nothing else pulls my mind away. A few seconds pass before I speak. My voice comes out softer than I expect. I saw it fall earlier, I say. She glances at me, just for a moment, then nods. There's no need for more. I don't add anything else. I hold back questions that usually come easily. This time, I let the moment stay simple. I stay there, not fixing, not guiding, just being present in the same space. Slowly, she starts to say something. Small things, simple words. I listen without interrupting. It isn't something big, but it's enough for me to feel it. That small space between us is still there. I began to understand something I hadn't seen before. Children don't suddenly become distant. They adjust quietly, little by little, without asking for attention. They watch us more than we think. They notice the small things we don't explain. And somehow they learn from what we don't say. When I'm often not fully there, even if I'm physically present, they begin to expect less from me. Not out of anger, but quiet understanding. At first, nothing feels wrong. The house runs as usual, everything looks fine on the surface, but over time, something shifts in small ways. It appears in moments I almost miss. Quiet changes that don't ask to be noticed. I see it in how they stay quiet longer, in how they solve things without calling me, in how my name is no longer the first thing they reach for. That's when it becomes clear to me. Presence isn't about how long I stay near them. It's about how much of me is truly there. Even a short moment can feel different. When I give my full attention without dividing it, and somehow that small shift changes everything between us. I used to think important things would be obvious, something big, something I couldn't miss. But now I see many of them are small and quiet. My child doesn't always ask for my attention. There are no loud signs or clear requests, but somehow they still feel every response I give. I often said just a moment without thinking much about it. It felt harmless, almost necessary at the time, but repeated too often, it quietly creates distance. What surprises me is, it's never too late to return. Not in a perfect way, not all at once, but in small moments that feel real again. I don't need to do everything right. I don't need to always be available. I just need to be more aware when it matters. I try to notice more now. Not just looking, but really seeing. Not just being there, but actually present. The small things I missed today don't disappear. They stay, quietly building into something else, and sometimes that something becomes harder to reach. I don't want to wait until it feels too far away. I don't want to realize it only after it changes. I want to see it now while it's still here. The day moved the same as always. Nothing dramatic happened, nothing stood out, but something inside me felt slightly different, like a thought that stayed longer than usual. I began to slow down, even in small moments. I noticed things I used to pass by without thinking. Being present didn't feel big, but it felt real. My child didn't suddenly change. There were no big reactions or words. Just a quiet shift, like sitting a little closer than before. Maybe nothing was ever wrong with them. Maybe they were just adjusting quietly, and I was the one who wasn't fully there. If you've ever felt like you missed something small like this, it might not be gone yet. Sometimes you just need to look again, a little more carefully.